Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about fake food. Food fraud is a global problem. It mostly affects foods like extra virgin olive oil, saffron, and others, but you need to be careful when buying food products like fruit juice and honey. Honey laundering is the practice of using sugar substitutes in the same bottle that is labeled as pure honey. The contents of the bottle may look like honey, but instead could be sugar syrup, beet sugar, fructose, sucrose, glucose, or corn syrup. Much of the fake honey originates in China. To detect fake honey, check the label. If anything other than honey is labeled as its ingredients, then it is a counterfeit product. Bypass the scammers by finding local honey at your grocery store or farmer's market. But understand that food adulteration is a serious problem.
Truth and labeling doesn't matter half the time.
300,000 people fell sick and at least 6 infants died in 2008 when Chinese milk and infant formula was found to be adulterated with melamine. Later that year, melamine was also discovered in Chinese eggs. Melamine is a hard resin commonly used as an overlay for building materials like MDF or plywood. In its most basic form, melamine is an organic compound that when combined with formaldehyde forms a durable thermosetting plastic. It's used in building materials.
We don't need that in our food. Look, I brought this up on past podcasts. I remember a few years ago, and I'm like, look, we're under attack by China, but nobody's saying anything. I remember when they kept finding salmonella in weird shit. They found salmonella in toothpaste. They found, it was something else, they had found all kinds of chemicals in dog foods that was killing people's dogs.
There was lead that was found in children's toys. There was lead that was found in toothpaste. Why is lead in toothpaste? Because the people that are making this shit are sloppy and they cut corners and they don't care because it is an ideology that life is cheap and safety is not necessary and quality of life means nothing only to the rich.
The only reason, Roscoe, I'm disagreeing with you on one point, that it's just sloppy and they don't give a fuck. This is on purpose. You can't put salmonella in toothpaste. There's very little organics in toothpaste. There's a couple like polishes and stuff like that.
That is somebody at the factory saying, hey, go take a crap and don't wash your hands or piss into this mixture of chemicals. Because we know it's going to Americans.
Yeah, salmonella is so hard to get to. Either it's, like you said, like 2 or 3 people at the factory being assholes, or the whole factory itself. Like, we send this to America, let's fuck these Americans up. They don't rate their products anyway. That kind of shit. And the thing is, here's my other thing I'm saying. China is no longer our ally. Every time I turn around, why are we accepting products from there, or why are we building stuff over? They're literally losing their advantage as a manufacturing giant. Because of all the shit they got going on over there. I thought they'd be replaced by India, in which
it is the biggest gaslight operation of all time. The relationship between the United States and China is the biggest psyop gaslight of all time.
I just remember reading stuff about Nixon in the 70s and whoever else.
Carter, Xiaoping. I know, but back then, they weren't the paper tiger that they are now. And the reason why I say they're a paper tiger is because everybody was riding around on bicycles. Nobody owned a car over there except for super rich people.
Back then, you wanted China for manufacturing. Now you want China because of their population. They got what?
Now they're at the point where they cannot support their middle class anymore, which did not exist 30 years ago.
Nope. And that's why I was saying they have 2.7 billion people. The only reason people are over there is for the population, because when you got 2 billion people and they all got $1, you got $2 billion, because they have such buying power, not because they have such production power anymore. So that's the issue. But my mom saying is they're clearly not our friend. I don't want products from China, because every time I turn around, somebody's getting sick from the product.
I can avoid a tube of toothpaste. I can avoid fake honey.
That's true. The biggest issue we got going on right now when it comes to the fake food coming out of China, the prime example is like the Himalayan sea salt or whatever. And a lot of that pink salt is coming out of China. And that shit has all kinds of heavy metals in it They literally, when they find the salt, you're supposed to just mine the salt. They're actually grabbing a lot of the heavy metals. There's all kinds of shit in that rock that's making it into the salt. If you get the pink salt, a lot of that shit's coming out of China. And that's the prime example of what Roscoe is talking about. When it's metals in there like you wouldn't believe. And we're not talking just lead. And there's other heavy metals that shouldn't even be in your system, but they're naturally occurring. And when they get that salt vein, they're grabbing everything. And like I said, so that's why you keep hearing like that Gary Brecka guy talk about the Baja Gold or the Celtic sea salt. Those are natural salts that have all those minerals in them. But pink Himalayan salt, they're saying it's all coming out of China, and this is a prime example of what you were talking about. Also, when you were talking about the olive oil, people talk about olive oil coming out of course, Italy, and they showed a map of olive oil fraud. And then they also showed a map of the mafia in Italy. Those maps perfectly coincide with each other. They said there's not enough olives to produce that much olive oil every year. Most olive oil is fake. And this is what Roscoe is talking about, because legitimate olive oil has plenty of health benefits. But the fact of the matter is, all that extra virgin olive oil is not coming from olives right now. There's no way. The crop ain't there. They don't produce enough to make all that olive oil you're getting from Walmart, that good value, whatever it is. It says extra virgin. That's just a label. And so that's the issue. And this is the prime example of what Roscoe was talking about. Fake food. It's literally fake food. The fake honey got me. Excuse me. Fake honey just got me when you were talking about that. But definitely. I don't know where to get it, but when you hear that stuff is sourced locally, that raw honey, that's what you need to be looking at.
You can get it at your grocery store. You can go to the farmer's market.
Farmer's market, yep.
Yeah, you can go to the farmer's market. See, they used to have health food sections in stores like that, but those were eliminated about 2 years ago. And they just blended everything into everything else and became very confusing. So now what you have to do is you have to walk to areas in the store that have these end caps and look for honey that is jarred and processed locally. It will be labeled on the sticker. You can find it in your local grocery stores, but you have to look. Now, maybe in a place like that, you have to look a little bit harder, but you can buy local honey there, no problem.
Look, we actually grew up on a farmer's market because my mom used to go to one like every Saturday and Sunday. And this is like years ago. Like literally you would go and it was a half a barn and that's where we used to go get a lot of our vegetables from. That concept, that's what blew my mind when when people started, it wasn't called a farmer's market. It was just called like a market. Then people start calling it a farmer's market. I'm like, oh, but farmers would sell their stuff there. And you'd be like, huh, this ain't no byproducts, ain't no nothing. You know what I'm saying? You might still have some manure on the goddamn shit, so you got to wash it off because they were doing. It wasn't called organic back then. You dig what I'm saying? It was just like, hey, I'm a natural. I don't use this. I don't use those kind of fertilizers. And so we actually grew up on this shit. Now it's hard to find stuff that ain't been tainted. And like I said, I understand that you're trying to save money, but it's not this honey thing. I think it's so deep when you said these kids are getting sick off of honey because so many people when that happens, then all of a sudden the parent will stop using honey, or the kid has a honey allergy. No, it doesn't. No, he or she don't. Excuse me. What it was the honey that you got a hold to came from China, came from someplace that's unscrupulous, and not that America is scrupulous, but it has scruples. Excuse me. But, you know, in that one-time incident, like I remember an article about this chick that literally would not eat fruits and vegetables. She said, oh, well, I'm in Jamaica. My second time in Jamaica, she said I couldn't help myself. And she ate the fruits and vegetables, and she didn't break out. She didn't get sick. What it was she was allergic to glyphosate. She was allergic to fertilizers that they're using in America. And so when she was overseas and she was eating, you know, real fruit that wasn't sprayed, she said, man, I did so great. You know, I was regular. My skin had a glow to it. She said, I would never eat fruits and vegetables because ever since I was a kid, I would eat fruits and vegetables and get sick. But she wasn't allergic to the fruits and vegetables. She was allergic to the pesticide or whatever sides they got on there. Because, you know, but that's the stuff we're talking about. It's fake food.
In 2015, News reports told of plastic rice being sold in some Asian countries like India, Indonesia, and Vietnam. The plastic rice, reportedly made from potatoes, sweet potatoes, with synthetic resin molded into the shape of real rice, is said to have made its way into countries with large rural populations, such as many in Southeast Asia. Some substances, such as plastic resins, are not meant to be edible and in the long run will have negative implications on the digestive system. In January 2017, the Center for Food Safety in Hong Kong conducted a study on the fake rice phenomenon. Here are some ways to detect fake rice. During this investigation, they discovered that there were 2 local restaurants that were selling fake rice in their dishes. Some video clips on social media showed the fake rice could be elongated upon rolling, squeezing it between the fingers. In response, the Customs and Excise Department and the CFS collected remnants of the incriminated fake rice and additional rice samples from the restaurants for testing. Reports in the media have alleged that plastic rice, probably coming from China, was exported to Southeast Asian and African countries. However, none of the national authorities from any of the Asian or African countries have noticed anything that substantiated these allegations. On the other hand, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce in mainland China said that the alleged fake rice had no relationship with Chinese rice exports. Of course they're going to say that. So here are some ways to detect the fake rice.
Please, yes. That's the most important part.
So fake rice may have an unusual texture, color, or shape. Fake rice may also contain chemicals or additives that can be detected through chemical testing. Fake rice may also have an unusual taste or smell. There are also various tests that can be used to detect adulteration in rice, such as the Sella rice test, which involves adding lime to rice grains to expose discoloration or foul odors. In 2023, 3 Chinese companies were busted for selling fake Thai rice, which was made from a processed local rice breed with artificial scent and flavoring passed off as Thai jasmine rice.
Oh, wow.
The factories...
Jasmine rice is more expensive. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The factories processed the rice using pyrazine and pyrrole to scent their products. Both pyrazine and pyrrole are considered illegal food flavorings in China. So if this is illegal in China, you know damn well that ain't gonna fly in the United States of America.
Well, look, they don't care about selling it to you, and they said that was Thai rice, which jasmine rice. That's that expensive shit. I've seen that shit before.
So the 3 factories have been charged with processing foods for the purpose of producing counterfeit products. Dude.
Look, let's be honest. The way we got started on this conversation, we've always complained about this. But you see more and more people opening their fruit, and the fruit got a weird consistency to it. The fruit won't break. That's how we got here. You see somebody cut up with a watermelon, and they can do like a snake-like motion with a watermelon. You see people peeling a banana, and the banana has a weird consistency. That's why we're here. And the question that you had asked, because a lot of people are blaming Bill Gates. A lot of people are blaming shit on him because of his appeal. But I think that's what we're thinking. People are thinking that they sprayed this shit with some shellac and the shit gets in the fruit and changes the consistency. It makes it into like a plastic or some weird shit. People are making that assumption. Now, is that an assumption? Yes. But is it a stretch? No. Because why the fuck are you spraying my fruit? You're not. Even now, people will call like, it wasn't Trader Joe's. It was another one. I think what's the big national chain? Whole Foods. When people first started calling asking about a peel, they were like, "No, we don't use it." Now, when you call and ask, they're like, "I will get back to you." That's making me nervous as hell. But the bigger issue is I don't want a peel on my food, on my fruit, on my vegetables. What do I got to do to not have it? And it's harder and harder to find stuff without it. When you find out that Bill Gates owns the most farmland in Nebraska, owns the most farmland in America. And the other thing is, this is something that we also brought up.
But wait, stop. These farms are owned by shell corporations that are owned by Bill Gates. So then I can understand why you might have that for legal protection. But why are people uncovering this and you're not saying anything about this? Because you are working on something long term. That first of all, you're a computer guy that then got into, the pharmaceutical industry, as we'll call it. And then now you're working on foods. So what this is a person with Incredible Hulk level OCD. And this person wants to control everything. And he wants to benefit from controlling everything, because first it was like, oh, everybody's using computers. So I'm gonna basically, monopolize the market. And then, you know what? They're taking me to court because, it was antitrust laws that I broke. And that's how, they had to stop Microsoft from what they were doing. Okay. So cool. I'll make my money off of this. But I'm going to become a philanthropist. But how is it that you double your wealth? You double you double your wealth by being a philanthropist, because these are shell corporations, because you're creating shell corporations that you're investing in because you know that this is going to make money. It's not philanthropy, it's psycholanthropy.
You left two out. What about when he had an antivirus? So he produced a virus so people would buy the antivirus. What about that one? What about the fact that there is a old map?
That sounds like something that happened in the biological world. Is this just art imitating life, or just this guy is this old hat, a dog with the same old tricks?
He has a pattern of behaviors. But like I said, I need my podcast. The other one that pops up that I need you to look up that you'll laugh at, because we talked about it before. And there's an old map that shows that when this catastrophe happens, or if an earthquake happens, there are certain regions that will get flooded and yada yada yada.
I've seen those maps. Those are FEMA maps.
Yes, the FEMA maps. Pay attention to the land that he all that land. He's already purchased a lot of land in those places. Like there's an area in California, Nevada, that's going to be an island. They predict that it will be an island. He's already purchased that area. There's an area in Nebraska that's not supposed to get flooded, like Nebraska, Kansas, South Dakota, going into Utah. He's already started purchasing land along that fictitious border.
He is not buying any land in floodplains.
Yes. Well, yeah. So, because again, me and Roscoe talk about this even off the air. We talk, we joke, we argue with each other. But this is what he's literally buying land that's not in that floodplain. That's exactly what he's doing. He looked at a FEMA map that predicts something now.
But these same rich people bought up a bunch of seeds and put them in a seed vault in Norway. Does anybody know what happened to that seed vault? It flooded.
I'm listening. That's not supposed
destroying all the seeds.
They used to call it like a seed arc, is what they would call it back in the day, where they had all these different what's the term they use for seeds that ain't GMO? It was all heirloom seeds, or whatever they call them. And the idea was, so if something happens, we can recreate our food source. And you're telling me that shit flooded?
That is correct.
I did not know that.
It's in Norway, and it's called the Doomsday Vault. The Svalbard, Svalbard, Svalbard Global Seed Vault, had faced flooding issues due to melting permafrost located in the Arctic Circle. It was designed to store seeds from around the world to ensure the world's food supply in the event of a global catastrophe. These floods happened in 2017. People don't think just because it's way up there that they can't be in a floodplain.
Look. Here, I sent you a video.
The floodwater entered the entrance tunnel.
That's not by accident.
The incident highlighted the vulnerability of the vault to climate change.
Look, okay, so you already know where I'm going. I sent you a video where this dude talks about. He said that back in the '70s, it was all it was about we're going to have a new ice age in 10 years. Then in the '80s, it was about acid rain. In 10 years, acid rain will destroy all our crops. Then in the '90s, it was about the ozone layer, and he said in 10 years, the ozone layer will be gone. And then after the '90s and the 2000s, it was global warming, and in 10 years, everything's going to flood.
Everything is 10 years, 10 years, 10 years, 10 years. And all it does is create high anxiety and increases taxes. Taxes go up.
Well, look, the reason I brought it up is because I remember being a kid, and you remember this. We went to grade school together, so that's why we have a podcast now, motherfucker. I remember acid rain. I remember being scared of acid rain. I remember them telling like the acid rain was so bad. Like they would show us statues where the acid rain that fuck you was bird shit on there too. I'm like, hey, that bird shit ain't gonna fuck the statue up. No, it's acid rain. It's disintegrating the statues. There are natural acid rain. And I'm like, I just remember being scared. Like, well, shit, how do we know when it's acid raining? Because I want to be outside in the rain, nigga, and it's acid. You know, I'm like in second, third grade. Like it rains acid. What kind of shit is that?
Because that's something made up to scare the shit out of people. What can we do to scare the crap out of people? All right, well, the rainwater is going to melt you.
The sky is falling. Say it. The sky is falling.
The rainwater is going to melt you. You're going to drown to death. All this stuff, you're going to run out of food. All these things are meant to scare the shit out of you. It's the biggest gaslight scenarios. So Sri Lanka was the first country to ban glyphosate in 2014. The second leading cause of death among males in Sri Lanka was glyphosate. And so they're like, all right, this has to go. So now glyphosate Roundup is banned in Australia. Yep. So,
but that was my point when I was talking about that. This young lady that went, she was like, I was in Jamaica, I was in the Caribbean, and she said, I don't eat fruit because it makes me sick. And then she eats the fruit there, and she has a completely wildly different effect. But that glyphosate, that Monsanto shit, makes people sick. You have whole movies based on the shit now. You have whole interactions where the guy tells the guy from Monsanto tells you the glyphosate is perfectly healthy. He said, "Well, drink a gallon of it." I will not. Well, look, it was perfectly healthy, you know, and you ain't worried about cancer, then go ahead and drink it. But that's the whole thing, is that they know that these are carcinogens. These are known carcinogens. That they've been proven. Also, I sent you a list of the stuff that I didn't realize that Monsanto had invented, like everything from atrazine to DDT to glyphosate. It was other stuff on there. And I'm like, holy shit. Like this one company has produced more cancer than anybody else in the world. I just think it's odd when people tell you that smoking and tobacco causes cancer, but we knew people. I remember your mom talking about people smoking at like 9 and 10 years old where she was from. And I'm like, they weren't getting cancer back then. Then all of a sudden in the 80s, everybody starts getting cancer from smoking. Is it from smoking, or is it from something else they're putting in the tobacco, or is it from something else? Because that's the same lie they told us about cholesterol. They told us cholesterol was bad and we shouldn't be eating red meat, and fat is bad, and all this other stuff. And now we're brainwashed and we're using seed oils. And these seed oils are causing inflammation and cancer left and right. Crisco was made for a fucking car.
Dude, you got to be careful when you go to. This is the crazy thing. When you go to like buy lunch at say you go into Walmart and you go buy some chicken, get a combo meal, chicken and a side and like a bun, and it's $3.99. Ask them what the chicken is made in. What kind of grease is the chicken made in? Yes. I fucked around and asked them one day, and they said, "Oh, we use Crisco." Bye. Dude, there's a song from 1996, Goody Mob, Soul Food, and it says, he says, they make this horrible bullshit affordable. I thank the Lord that my voice is recordable.
Because it's cheap, you can afford it, you're eating it, that shit is not edible. it's eatable. There's a difference. Whenever I say people, it's eatable, and they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Look, I can chew it and consume it, but that shit is not meant for human consumption. That shit is not edible. It's barely edible, you know. And the shit that I already know you, like you've always been big on this different shit. But we were told that Mazola corn oil was the solution. It's better than frying your food in beef fat and that kind of stuff. And
that's all marketing.
That's how we got. Yes, that's how we got here. But apparently, that shit was done in the 50s. So long story short, when the real people found out what caused cancer, caused heart disease, and caused all this different shit was diabetes, it was all coming from the sugar. The sugar people spent what I don't want to. I think it's 1 million to 5 million. They found some doctor who had a report that the cholesterol was causing heart disease, and they put $1 million to $5 million behind that and put that report everywhere. But the truth is, they've always known that sugar was the culprit. See what happens is the way that Gary Brecker described it. He said cholesterol is at the scene of the crime, but it didn't cause the crime. It's like when you look at people that were having all these heart problems, all this other stuff, their cholesterol was raised. Their cholesterol was raised because of the sugar, not because they were consuming cholesterol. Does that make sense? And so that's how we've been brainwashed to think that cholesterol was bad, and they beat us over the head with that shit. We were in grade school hearing about fried food. You got to fry your food in corn oil. You got to fry your food in Crisco. You got to fry your food in this, and it's better for you that way. Man, honestly, the two healthiest things to fry your food in, don't laugh, beef tallow, because like I said, a lot of people don't eat pork, or coconut oil. Coconut oil actually makes people way healthier. So, but again, we were brainwashed. We were told that seed oil this, seed oil that, and the honey thing. Like I said, you still blew my mind earlier about the fake honey, because you trust honey. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like honey, man.
So you are today years old when you found out there's fake honey out there.
I guess I never thought about it.
Dude, this shit really pissed me off when I discovered that shit, because honey is this
you don't need to do
harmless,
that, man. You don't need to do that.
It's natural, it's healthy, it's a lot of different things, and these motherfuckers are fucking with honey, and I'm like, wow, dude.
Look, here's the thing that you need to pay attention to. If your honey has an expiration date, then it's not honey. Because remember, honey does not go bad. They found remember Patra in the Bible, it's like where they were talking about the end of days. They found honey in there that they when they cracked that vial open 2,000 years later, they still ate that honey just to tell, oh, this shit is great. That's that shit. If your honey has an expiration date, then that probably ain't honey, my nigga. you feel me? Because honey don't go bad. And even now, there's some people that like, hey, you shouldn't eat honey. It's bee saliva. It's this, that, and the other. It's way more to honey than that. It has to do with it's anti-microbial,
It's a superfood.
Yeah. It's a lot more to it than just bee saliva. I get it. People try to turn you off to shit. I get it. If you're saying that it's bad, I dig it. But what they try to do is like just say that, hey, I don't think you should be eating that. Cool. But don't sit here and try to vilify it because you have an agenda. Whatever. I get it, but y'all full of shit. But honey, man, that's crazy. That you don't even have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's so crazy but they see that it's cheaper and easier to make because they don't have to deal with bees. So like, oh, let's get some corn syrup and some food coloring, and there you go. We've got honey now.
Yeah. They were killing the bees off, but hold it. Like I said, you said so much deep shit. Look, the numbers ain't supporting it is the issue. Like when you sit here and you look at that map of Italy and you see all these places that this olive oil is produced. Now, if you guys want to know where's the best olive oil produced at, Roscoe, I know you know the answer. Morocco, because it's a harsh condition, and the harsher the condition, that those olives are stronger. And olives take 7 years to grow and all this crazy shit. So it takes 7 years for that plant to produce. So it tells you right there, there's no way that these numbers can support what the fuck is coming out of Italy and these other places. But if you want the best, I know it's out of Morocco, and that shit is expensive. But They said it.
In 2024, 15 tons of fake spices, including coriander powder and turmeric powder, were seized in Delhi, India, which were made with rotten leaves and rice, spoiled millet, wood dust, and chemicals.
So it's just the color then. It looks like it. That's all it is. It looks like the turmeric powder. Turmeric cures damn near everything. And you're giving me this fake shit. I'd beat a motherfucker's ass, dude. I'd lose my fucking nugget.
Adding wood pulp to grated Parmesan is a simple and controversial way to boost the bottom line of an expensive cheese. Wood pulp.
Wood pulp. Here's my dumb question. So you mean to tell me it's cheaper to make fake rice than it is to grow it?
Dude, here's the lesson from this. Make your own Parmesan cheese by getting the cheese and grating it yourself.
Grate it. Just grate it, yeah. But
wood pulp.
Man, that's fucked up. Hey, okay, let's talk about my experience with wood pulp. I remember being a kid and somebody throwing up in grade school, and the janitor would show up with wood pulp, drop it on the vomit, and clean it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, wood pulp. And you're putting this in my cheese? Oh, nigga, I'd kill you, cuz.
Oh, here's another one about cheese. Those sliced cheeses that come in the plastic, the singles.
Those are plastic. Yeah.
It's not cheese.
Look, I saw the commercial. When
Go
I was a kid, the commercial said,
go and read the label and tell me how much actual cheese is in that product.
Look,
tell me also, why doesn't it melt?
Look, when I was a kid, it said on there's a quarter cup of milk in every slice. You saw the commercials, my nigga. You know what I'm talking about. And they would have a little glass of milk with that much milk in it. There's a quarter cup of milk.
You don't see that commercial anymore because it's no longer true.
Yeah, but you do see the picture on the cheese of the Kraft cheese, and they got a little cup with milk in it like that. It's on there, but like you said, they don't make the claim anymore. But they've brainwashed me so thoroughly that when I saw it, oh yeah, I remember quarter cup of milk. Shit, nigga, this is that's bullshit. That's what the fuck it is.
Selling horse meat as Kobe beef is another example.
Oh, you got me on that one.
Yep.
Oh, God.
So several
Kobe
restaurants have been busted selling horse meat labeled as Kobe beef.
I remember the one from your area. They had went to a bunch of seafood restaurants in Atlanta, and they did a DNA test.
There was this fish they called sway.
Yep.
And sway was being substituted for all other different types of fish.
Clarify. Expensive fish. Like people were paying all this extra money for snapper and all this other. These were expensive fish that were being replaced by sway. It wasn't just fish. It wasn't. We ain't talking fish sticks, my nigga. We talking about you walk in a restaurant and you're paying this extra. You're paying like $75 a plate.
It was an investigative reporter series where they were going to different restaurants. And the local news reporter was asking them about where they got their fish from and if they knew that the fish was red snapper or not. Here's another thing. There's seasons for fish. And you have to know when this fish is in season. So this speaks to another thing. We've gotten so used in our microwave culture that we can eat any kind of food any time of the year.
Anytime, yeah. That's
You're not supposed to eat watermelon in December because watermelon is out of season. We are human beings and we are connected to the great clock of nature. So then if you eat something that is a summer food in the wintertime, it can make you sick or throw off your digestive system because your digestive system has grown accustomed to eating at that time. So this one cat I know, we were talking about circadian rhythms and your digestive system. And that digestive system has a rhythm to it. And so circadian rhythms are about certain times a day where energy is at different parts of the body. Now, Western medicine did not discover this. This goes back to ancient China and Taoist surgeons and physicians, Chinese Taoists. They discovered that the energy moves through the body at different points of the day. And the same thing happens for your digestive system. over the course of a year. The same way people get sick when the seasons change. That is the mimicry of the human body to the earth, an expansion and contracting of energy going down into the earth when it's cold, coming back up to the surface when it's warm. But that flux of energy down and up inside the body moves toxins with it, causing you to get sick because the toxins are being brought out of the fat cells in the body where they were stored during the winter.
Look, we talked about this before. I think it was an Apache, and this old man talks about, he said, in the wintertime, we would slaughter a horse, and we would eat that horse like once or twice a month throughout the winter to get us through. Because, you're not talking about one person, you're talking about a tribe. But the thing is, it just shows you that meat was medicine. Meat's not meant to be consumed all the time. It's not meant to be consumed every day. And I think that's how I think what people are talking about right now, that we're on a European peasant diet where we're eating a lot of bread, we're eating a lot of grains, we're eating a lot of meat, because that's what you would do in the wintertime in a place that has winter. But if you're in a place that doesn't have winter, you should be eating fruits and vegetables all the time. They have so many studies that show that when these kids got fresh fruits and vegetables, it was a 90-year study they did in the Congo. The kids that were born in certain times, I guess like the rainy season or whatever, because they don't have the extremes, but in the rainy season, the stuff wasn't growing, it grew afterwards. So the kids that were born in these certain months were consuming this, like more grains. Their IQ level was lower. The kids that were born after the rainy season, when the foods were much more whatever, they were literally more intelligent. And this was like a 90-year study. So they're showing that when you're consuming these grains, when you're consuming this meat, when you're consuming that diet, it literally affects your development and your growth mentally. So, like I said, the fact that we're talking about fake foods, and we didn't even talk, let's not forget the fake meat. Like, one of our friends growing up was bragging about how he went to Burger King and ate that, I want to say unburger, but it was called something else. The
Impossible Burger.
Impossible Burger. And I'm like, bro, you did read what's on there. That shit is what they use to make dog food.
It's impossible for you to digest that stuff. That's why it's called the Impossible Burger.
Look, if that's the case, my nigga, I can get you some Alpo. Like,
But wait a minute. Why was it like right after the pandemic in 2022, you were seeing all this Impossible Burger stuff everywhere, and then it disappeared? What happened? Nobody was buying this stuff because they found out how unhealthy it was. But no. You were being deluged with all type of advertisements everywhere. It was on billboards. It was on digital sidewalks. It was on everything, and you saw it. Eventually, it's like, yo, there's a peak Impossible Burger, Impossible Beef, revolution, and then it just went away. Go into the grocery store right now. How hard is it for you to find this shit? It's hard to find that stuff now because nobody wants to buy that shit.
But here's the problem, Roscoe.
And it's more expensive than meat.
No, hold it. You're saying something without saying something. What it was is people want real meat, and when they realize that now they're selling us fake meat, disguising it as real meat. You see these people having problems. They're seeing this fake ass salmon. Salmon.
The problem goes back to the 90s when they were talking about releasing cloned beef into the USDA market and allowing people to buy it unlabeled.
Look, here's the problem. The shit ain't cheaper. That's the lie. And the shit ain't healthier. That's the other lie. Now, if you don't want to eat meat, then don't eat something that look like meat. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but that's the whole thing is people, they want to have a fake burger and fake this, and I'm like, well, just don't eat the stuff that's supposed to look like it. And I understand you want to fit in with your friends, but like you got to make a choice at some point. I'm not going to live that way.
Look, so I know the answer. Have you been to a vegan restaurant before? Okay, so when you go to a vegan restaurant, I know you're going to order. You just order regular food. You don't order the shit that look like meat. You're not ordering them vegan nachos, are you? Okay, that's because when you walk in there, you're like, hey, I want a papaya salad. I want, I want vegetables that look like vegetables, fruit that looks like fruit. But you ain't in there walking around like, hey, I remember one time I go in a vegan restaurant and I like vegan nachos. Yeah, that sounds great. No, my nigga, they make the cheese out of mustard. That was some bullshit. And I'm like, I paid like $40 for this? If you're gonna be a vegetarian, do that shit. Stop trying to get shit that look like meat. That's how we get stuck in this situation. If you want to eat meat once or twice a year, that's probably what you need to be doing. You probably should have one steak once a year and one burger once a year and keep that shit moving. But don't sit here, walk in there and I want a pretend burger because I want the feeling of a burger, but I don't want the guilt.
Now I want to bring out the crazy shit. India has recently seen imports of fake eggs from China. Here are some ways to spot fake eggs. The surface of the fake eggs is rougher than a normal egg. Fake eggs have an odd shape to them. When cracked, regular eggs have a clear part of the yolk that holds the circular yellow part. The yolk of the fake egg is much darker yellow than a normal egg. So that clear fluid that holds the yellow yolk is not existent in a fake egg.
Embryonic fluid. Hold on. So here's what I keep forgetting to say since it's on my mind.
Hold on. The shell of the fake egg is made of calcium chloride. The yolk of the fake egg is made of alum, as in the word you would see on Bugs Bunny when they would shrink a person's mouth.
It's tart.
So it's made, the yolk of the fake egg is made of alum, gelatin, calcium chloride, and other unknown chemicals. Calcium chloride can harm the internal organs. Benzoic acid can harm the brain and nerve cells.
Here is another lie that's been perpetrated by these eugenicists and these Bill Gates motherfuckers and these TED Talk motherfuckers. They keep telling you there's too many people in the world. They keep telling you there's not enough land. So one of the things they push when they say not enough land is there's not enough resources. We can't grow enough food and produce enough meat to feed everybody. Those are lies. When people sit here and tell you that the whole population of the world can fit in the state of Texas, what does that tell you? That land is not at this premium.
Anybody who has a house on a half an acre to a quarter acre, you have enough space
to grow
on your land to grow your own food. Now, you may have to supplement this by trading with people locally. That's fine. But you have enough to grow crops on your land to feed your family with.
Hey, look, this sounds so bad, but I was talking to my sensei one time, and his wife has a garden on the back porch, but he had a bunch of corn one day. I was like, "Hey, man, shit, she grew that corn back there?" He's like, "Oh, hell no. There's a cornfield like half a block away. He just went over here and stole it." And I was like, that makes so much sense.
That's also bad karma, though.
You know what? You might be right, but the reason I disagree with you is because that these motherfuckers will sit here and poison us and do all kinds of bad stuff to us, in the food. So I'm like, if you walk over and took 4 or 5 ears of corn, I don't think that's going to make a bigger difference. But, like I said, real talk, Roscoe, it really is, he's what he says he is. He don't fuck around with that shit. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, man, y'all done stole my land from us. We ain't get our 40 acres of mule. I'm going to take it back 1 year at a time. But no, it was just the fact it was fresh, and that's something else that we always joke about: fresh food, fresh seafood, fresh produce, fresh vegetables. They have a sweet taste to them. I remember growing tomatoes in my backyard, and they didn't taste like the store tomatoes. I can't explain it if that's because they were fake, real, whatever. But I just know that your mom had an orchard in back. You had peaches and grapes, and that stuff tastes different. You have a lemon tree in your backyard. Why are you buying lemons? You mean you can just eat a lemon off a tree? She's like, yeah. And then she makes a video where she states that, you mean to tell me that you don't, how many other people knew that you could just eat a lemon off a tree, that you didn't have to do anything to it? They're like, yeah, you got to do something to it. You got to cut it. You have to cut it open. That's what you got to do.
Okay. But you got a knife? Go get a knife.
But that's what it is. They've been this generation underneath us, 2 generations underneath us, have been so brainwashed that they have to go to the
agency.
Store. You have to go to the store to get your food. This is what they wanted, and this is what they produce. They produce complete consumers. People who, like, all my kids I've taken fishing, and when I take them fishing, if we catch a big enough fish, I cut their head off, I gut it, and I show them how to skin it. Take the gills off, or catfish, you got to take the skin off. I do that for a reason. I know that's simple butchering. No one ever taught me how to do a chicken. I wish I knew. I don't know. I need to learn that. But what I'm saying is,
you break the neck and you pluck the feathers off, take the legs off.
Yes, I understand the basics. Roscoe. I'm not stupid. But the point being, then you let it run around without the head for a little while. No, but the point being is that you literally produced that. You literally caught that fish, you skinned it, you cleaned it, then you fry it or you bake it. And then there you have a meal that did not involve anybody other than you and God. You know what I'm saying? You pray over that food because that fish gave its life for you to live. So you want to make sure that shit is right. You want to make sure you're right with that spirit. That's the shit that's what you need to be teaching your kids. And even the same thing when you take fruits and vegetables. Like, okay, I picked this. Hey, thank you guys. Make sure the spirit, because the fact is this is your nourishment. That's how we got stuck with this whole Monsanto glyphosate atrazine situation. This is how, because these people realize that, okay, cancer is big business. So let's accidentally give it to them. And the thing is, when you consume a little bit of poison, you're like, hey man, that ain't no big deal. But then then you look at all the packaging, all the wrappers, all the foods that you're eating, all the stuff you're consuming. You always talk about background radiation, all this different shit causes cancer. So you can't even tell where it came from. You can't tell if it's the food or the environment, the water or the paint chips or the fucking the car motor. You can't tell where it came because it's incremental. And that's what's bugging me about this whole thing about the fake food. So you mean to tell me it's cheaper to produce fake food than it is to produce real food? It's not.
Life is too short for fake butter. Scientists are now making...
I don't like you anymore. Fake butter. Oh, goddamn.
Scientists are now making fake butter with bugs to save the climate. People can get sick from eating bugs. Study shows that all bugs contain chitin, chitin, a substance that is known to cause all sorts of ailments. And yet, during the pandemic and the years that follow, we see them, IMF, and all these groups, all these unelected people talking about how bugs are healthy to eat. What happens to you when you eat bugs?
The
same thing that happens when you eat animals. You absorb their emotions. So a long time ago, KRS-One came out with a song talking about beef. What a relief, because he's a vegetarian. And how the stress and psychological torture of these animals is transferred into the food, and then you consume that and you become that high anxiety, fearful creature. What creatures eat bugs? Reptiles. So you will begin to use more of your dormant reptilian
portion of your brain
if you eat insects.
Well,
so they want to reptilize people slowly over time.
But there was a big thing in the 90s when they were talking about how they would leave these chickens and these sheep and these cows in these trucks for these prolonged period of time. And these people would show up, like in England, start giving the sheep water. They were like, look, if you're stressing this animal out, that stress is literally going to come into us. And so people would show up and give water to the animals and start looking out for the animals that were being transported. That's a real thing. That you were eating trauma meat. Second, about the bug part, you left out the part that bugs are poison. They literally make people sick. There's something
they create poison to protect themselves against other insects and predators so that they will not be delicious.
It does not go away when look, the reason you cook your food is to kill these bacteria, kill bad stuff. But there are some things that when you cook, a prime example, remember when the motherfuckers got stuck going to Antarctica or the Arctic, North Pole and shit, and they ran out of food, they started eating their dogs. They ate the dog liver, and that shit was poison and killed like 9 of them. Some things ain't meant to be eaten, because even when you cook them,
think about the way a reptile behaves. It is reactive. It is fearful. It is somber, and it's lazy, and it lays around, and it's dependent on other things to survive. And then you add universal basic income into that, and you add more guilt about the environment into that, and you have a creature that behaves like either an insect, which is how they see people, or a reptile, or some weird fusion of the two.
Some sloth motherfucker ain't doing shit. Hold on, you just said something else that was deep. I just forgot that fast because, like I said, you talk. It's so many different shit. There's so many points that you're making that are
lyrics, nigga, lyrics.
Hey, I'm gonna give you an example of some crazy shit. Like, this whole reptile shit. So you, they're saying that house cats come from reptiles. House cats don't come from lions and tigers. And everybody argues with them. But look at the cat's eye. Look at a house cat's eye. It has a slit like a reptile. But when you look at a lion or a tiger, they have a round eye like a dog or a human. So they're like, look, these house cats did not come from where you think they come from. Look, you see, y'all seen this shit when that David Icke shows you like the queen or somebody, their eye will go in a slit off for just 1 second or some weird shit, and everybody's like, hey, he's faking it, he's making that shit up. There's too many times where you read this old shit in Africa where they talk about reptilian motherfuckers. You got
It's
motherfuckers
in the crest. It's in their family crest. It's on their flag, the House of Windsor. All these different crests in like these European families in Europe, they all have dragons. There's a red dragon on the crest of the House of Windsor. It's right there. Queen Elizabeth, the one that just died a year ago, she has a hall of beasts, statues of creatures in this room called the Hall of Beasts. Nobody knows about this shit. Nobody talks about this shit. It's a hall of beasts that somehow were either slain or were mythological creatures that existed at one time, probably before the flood.
Look, hold it. When people talk about the same thing when they look at the Chinese zodiac, you got the boar, you got the bull, you got the rabbit, you got all this different shit. Then you have the dragon. So why the hell would Chinese put the dragon on there?
But everybody else doesn't.
Yeah, if it didn't exist. Or the other part. See, here's another thing. Like I hate when a lot of times niggas will be looking at a hot chick and she'll say some shit. A hot chick was talking about the Bible. She said the Bible's not real. Where are the dinosaurs? Well, the word dinosaur only came out in 1893. The Bible was written before that. But the term dragon is in the Bible. The term unicorn is in, and that's what that was her point was unicorns don't exist. I'm like, the term unicorn, people say it had to do with any animal that had one horn, not just this fake horse goat shit. There were other type of rhinoceros and shit like that. But when you try to talk to somebody about it, they get you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, you were sitting here talking about some shit.
You were gaslit by somebody, and you're just parroting and echoing something that you heard somebody say that you think sounds good without doing any research on your own.
That you think justifies the fact that you.
But we're coming toward the end of this, so we got to stay on food. The food crisis of 2007 and 2008, when a rapid and extreme increase in global food prices led to riots and civil unrest in 28 countries. That is the same thing that happened in the French Revolution when they held the grain back from the people and the people got pissed off and overthrew the monarchy. The shift in prices in 2007 2008 affected consumers in rich countries who saw their grocery bills rise at a time when wages in much of the world were stagnant. The real impact is felt by the global poor in places like Tajikistan, where individuals spend 80% of their income on food. Price spikes in those places can be devastating, even deadly. Prices of agricultural commodities are now 7% higher than a year ago. Wheat and grain prices are especially high, with the former heavily impacted by crop failure in the U.S., Russia, and other reasons. Poor weather and droughts in the U.S. Corn Belt, as well as growing demand for grain from the biofuel industry and consumers in places like India and China who are beginning to eat more and more meat. It takes more than 15 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of beef. For an increasing number of experts, however, these factors do not go far enough in explaining what has caused food prices to spike since the early 2000s, reversing what had been a 4-decade-long trend of declining prices. So, food insecurity is something that is most of the time artificial. And when you hear the word food insecurity, that is normally a term that is bandied about when describing poor people. But it's never used to describe the people that are creating food insecurity. One last thing. Monsanto drops lawsuit against the Mexican government after a 4-year legal battle. Monsanto has withdrawn its legal challenge against the Mexican government 2020 presidential decree aimed at banning glyphosate and GMO corn for human consumption. This decision is considered a significant victory for Mexico as it allows the country to move forward with its plan to phase out the use of genetically modified corn and glyphosate. Now, this lawsuit, the story comes from July the 2nd of this year. And it was about this lawsuit of Bayer suing the government. They had initiated lawsuits against the Mexican government in response to this 2020 presidential candidate saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. Yeah, so they're like, oh, okay, we're going to sue y'all for even just talking like that. So, yeah, so they're like, yo, this shit got to go, and that's a win for that country. So, you know, and they got some good corn down there because they're the ones actually that created corn from a weed by crossing it.
Cross-pollinating a couple different grains, yeah.
And breeding it until it became a grain.
Corn that we see today, Look, the fact is this, that, you know, sometimes we need to mirror some of the stuff we see in other countries when it comes to that glyphosate shit. But Monsanto is too their hooks are in our government too deep. So, like I say, people love to talk about other countries and like, hey, they do this down there. Well, shit, we do this up here. So when you talk about discernment, we're telling you that, hey, y'all need to watch this motherfucker. This shit ain't healthy. This shit ain't safe. They're doing you wrong. It has bad long-term effects, and all this shit gives you cancer. All of it. We all know this to be true. This is not conjecture. this is not me being colorful. This is, like I said, this whole episode is about fake food. This is about when you go to the store and you buy a steak and you find out it's not a cow, it's a goat. You get pissed. Well, it's even worse when you find out that they're breeding shit and they're creating stuff and they're building stuff. Why do we need fake food? There's nothing wrong with original food. And there's too many chemicals in this original food that we thought was original food. There's too many preservatives.
Understand when you're being gaslit into eating insects, because that is trying to slowly acclimate you into eating substandard food when natural, healthy food is your birthright. That is a control mechanism. By getting you to accepting the idea of eating insects, that is a way to subjugate you into being a lower class, second class human, because the rich will not do this. You know, they'll hire these wealthy actresses like Nicole Kidman to do these commercials about, these crunchy bugs are good. Yo, that woman is a dark arts practitioner whose father was a pedophile. All these people are connected.
You make it look like it's in style.
It's all a way of attempting to maintain control.
Again, we've always said this: do as I say, not as I do. That's all that shit is for these rich elite motherfuckers. They're all, I shouldn't say they're all. Some of them are into dark magic. Some of them are into pedophilia. Some of them they're all into these different things that the regular people don't do. Now, we see what happens when somebody gets caught. Puffy out there just still enjoying his life, but that's what they'll do some fucked up shit, and then we get in trouble for it. If you do the exact same behaviors, you'd be in trouble. So look, this shit's not healthy. It doesn't maintain it doesn't make you a better person. Stay away from that shit. Look, grow your own food. We've always said that on this podcast. Grow your own shit. That's because these two nerdy niggas that's talking to you, we've always done that. Our parents grew stuff when we were kids, and we grew our own vegetables. Not every single vegetable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we had our straight up farm, but definitely we produced some of our own stuff, and that's why we have a different attitude. That's why we respect the ground and earth so much. And what you put in it is what you get out of it.
The day that you go to the grocery store and you see steaks made from roaches and bugs, raise hell, because they are gaslighting you. The Piccolo player is a motherfucker. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
There's no food shortage. Holla back.